Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Michael Jullian here at Launch Expose. Online business solutions and services, as well as coaching and consulting for online business entrepreneurs who are driven to create their own online businesses, to create revenue and passive income streams online, and to scale those businesses to six figures and beyond in 2023. Welcome to the podcast this evening. I am once again hosting this podcast from Costa Rica, and we'll be leaving here pretty soon. I'm going to relocate back to the States for a while in about 2 weeks, and when I do, I will set forth on providing you some more podcast episodes for motivation for entrepreneurs, as well as new videos for the YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. And before we get started, if you could please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and the podcast, it would help me greatly in my journey to provide all of you more content, resources, tools, and information to help you build successful online businesses. So I'd be very grateful if you did that. And before we get to it, I'd like to introduce tonight's video sponsor as well, which is Popped-In. I absolutely love Popped-In. Popped-In is a plugin that is for WordPress, but works on multiple platforms as well. Integrates seamlessly pretty much with anything. And it's a great way for you to convert prospects into customers and immediately, simultaneously, have them added to your list. So building a list is everything, as we all know, in online entrepreneurship and online businesses, and email is king. So it works seamlessly, simultaneously to do both things, and it also integrates with HubSpot, which is my number one choice for CRM in online business, no matter what you do, no matter what your niche is. HubSpot is incredible, and I'm going to be providing some links for you to check out HubSpot here in the near future, so you'll be able to check that out. But check out Popped-In if you're interested in using the plugin. I highly recommend it. It's really fun to use. It's dynamic. You can install it in just a couple of minutes, and you can start to create some really dynamic forms and pop-ups to turn prospects into customers. All right, there you go. So let's move on here. We're going to be talking about whether or not you have been laid off recently from your job, which is a heavy subject, and whether or not this is your time to create your online business. You know, I can only speak from experience. I have experience many years ago working in customer relationship management, application technology, as a salesperson inside of a company that was a startup, a really explosive, amazing, dynamic startup at the time in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And, you know, before then had gone through not one, not two, but three different shifts to wind up in the position of selling ATG Dynamo back then, based on being laid off. So I know firsthand what it's like, what it feels like, what the shock is like, and what the stress is like when you realize, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I've got to land another gig. And of course, now you're kind of forcing yourself forward to potentially take a gig you may not want. So I know all too well what it feels like and what the process is like, and that's why I wanted to create a motivational podcast episode here for entrepreneurs in regard to the subject. But I also want to talk about why it's such a fantastic time. And I used to do the same thing when I got laid off. In fact, I eventually was laid off from ATG. Over 900 plus of us were. And at that time, I realized right away, I mean, it is in the whole story inside of my website. If you visit launchexpose.com and check out who I am and what services and solutions I provide, if you click the read my story, what I'm telling you right now in this moment is exactly the copy that's in my website, which is, you know, I remember driving home thinking, wow, again? I'm going to have to do this again. And of course, I was having such a great time at ATG. I'd done some amazing things, and I loved the company, and I loved the product, and I was really passionate about it. And I actually had ended up creating a role for myself back then. I was a sales guy selling Dynamo servers and T's and C's on maintenance contracts, and it was good stuff. And then I realized at the time that they really needed a training portal and that they had so many people coming in from all over the world. We were hiring exponentially, and we weren't prepared in terms of training. So I really saw an opportunity for myself and to provide value add to the company, to do something explosive, something powerful, something that would save the company money, which was to utilize our product to build a portal to create a whole LMS system for people to train remotely and be prepared to be highly proficient when they hit their office space and their chairs to set forth on their sales position at ATG. And it was successful, and it was incredible, and we rolled it out. It was right toward the end of our big success at ATG, unfortunately, and it was, a platform that we used for almost a 2-year period of time. And through that experience, I realized in that layoff that I had been given the greatest gift I could have ever asked for in terms of being in the position before I was laid off, which is, hey, wait a minute, I might be able to do this for myself. What's holding me back from being a high-level consultant sales trainer who utilizes video, who utilizes LMS, who knows product marketing well enough, knows sales teams, has trained sales teams? Why can't I go in and just provide my services to help sales teams with proficiency in case they were having trouble with their number, or there was something wrong, something they were not hitting their numbers, and then they needed to understand why, how to become more proficient, and from a CRM level. So I did. I created an LLC in less than a week. I decided I was going to put my laptop in my bag and find some clients and go out there and do this myself, because the whole mechanism I had already created at ATG, which, at that point it hit me. Wait a minute. If I sell digital products and services online from my own site, there's no overhead in that. I mean, my road time is going to be trimmed in half potentially if I work smarter and I learn how to do this. And of course, it was just a super exciting time in terms of me embarking on this business. So I really set forth on this thing. This time around, I made sure I was disciplined to not be dejected, to not be down, to not let stress overcome me to the point where I was just, grabbing at anything and sending out 60 to 100 resumes a day. I was like, no, you're going to parse the day in half, and you're going to think about potentially maybe not going back to an office space in a corporation. And it started to work, and it started to pay off. So that's really the reason I wanted to create this podcast episode in terms of motivation for you all listening. If you're out there and you've suffered a layoff, because this is an extraordinary time. Digital products and services, as the world turns right now, are by and large at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the list in terms of how to make a beautifully substantial income selling digital products and services yourself on your website. And it provides job security. I'm about to embark on doing a video for the channel about that. How being an online business entrepreneur, if you go about it correctly and you follow the path of selling digital services and products, how it can be constantly in the background in your work life. If you did go back to a job, you got offered a great deal and you're working full time again and you're in office space, fantastic. But the real reality right now, and especially in the tech sector, is that it's been horrible. We've seen almost 200,000 people in less than a 3.5 to 5 month period of time be laid off from tech. And right now, of course, the fear is OpenAI and what that's doing to the workforce in terms of so many tasks that companies have decided to automate. Now, of course, I'm a realist, and I have said this before in videos, and we'll be saying it in podcast episodes. I see the reality that OpenAI can threaten workforces. It's obvious. If they're going to turn the entire system over to automation, then you become obsolete. And so this becomes a grand fear in one's mind, and you can let it run out of control. The whole thing is simmer down and start to understand that we've got two choices. And the way that I see it is that if you have been laid off, regardless of what sector you're in, regardless of what market area you're in, you didn't have to be high tech to get laid off right now. But if you have been determined to create an online business, this could be an incredible time, especially if you're being compensated, through unemployment. So I really highly promote that you take that type of thinking right now, to potentially develop it, to have a driven mindset, and to realize this could provide you job security. Because right now, I don't want to go too deep into economics tonight on this podcast. I am going to do some episodes where I'm going to include some information about that, as I do follow all of the top economists in the world and what all of them are saying, and especially Neil McCoy Ward. For any of you who don't know who Neil is, definitely check him out on YouTube. He's a Brit. He's ex-military. I really love him. And he's absolutely stellar. He's incredible. And he knows his stuff. His data is straight. And what he's constantly saying is, look, the numbers are false. If they're saying 200,000 unemployed, think close to 600, because they're not counting people in so many other categories that don't fall under the guise of unemployment. So with that said, and every single thing that he covers is about how everything is changing monetarily in the world, that the dollar is dying, and that we are going to see complete and total change into CDBC and digital currency. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep in this podcast on that subject, but it does have a lot to do with what you may be involved with if you are driven to become an online entrepreneur and drive your own site and your own business. And it's definitely going to be the way of the world. We need to figure it out. How do we sell in other currencies? Well, if you're digitally driven, if you have products and services and solutions that are full-on digitally based products, however economies roll, if you are someone who has studied how you're going to have to change into CDBC and make it successful in your business, you could be taking currencies from all over the world and then basically going through a transaction, convert them to whatever currency you desire. So digital is digital on either side of the fence, whatever we're creating and whatever world government is creating to get us to conform into digital currency. So anyway, I'm just promoting, this is definitely a great time. And of course, every single market analyst out there are talking about the top 5 to top 25 ways to make money online. They're all highly, highly promoting that you do things online. What are they? Well, be a services agency, create a virtual assistant service agency, automate emails for people, become an email agency, do blogs for people, teach people how to automate content on their websites, and so on. Sell courses online. All of those things are 100% solid ideas to make a lot of revenue and passive income online. But I just wanted to cover some things that I've been reading here as well. And, what you could expect as a job seeker right now if you have been unemployed. Because on the other side of the fence, federal data suggests that the job market is cooling, but it's historically strong. I agree with the economists in the world. I agree with Neil. These numbers are fudged in a big way. However, it is true. Job openings did fall to the lowest level since May of 2021 recently. And that was according to a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which, of course, there's, what's the real number? This is what folks like myself and Neil McCoy Ward, who I'm giving a big plug and shout out to, and definitely check them out. That's where we operate from. But the number of openings and voluntary quits by workers are above pre-pandemic levels. So right now, it depends on what type of job you're looking for. A lot of this is customer service industry and, industries that are service jobs, which, I really truly believe that, it's great, but now you're back in a situation where you're back to something far heavier than a 9 to 5. You may have 2 side hustles going to try to make your rent and put gas in your car and put food on your table. And of course, there's no time to create any kind of backup or job security with an online business. So it depends on how you're going about it, I was also looking at some data, with just to check it out, to check the climate out in terms of what they're reporting and what's online. So you have to filter all of this with a grain of salt. I'm looking at articles from CNBC and Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and, a lot of different sources. And, of course, you're going to get different stories everywhere you go. Right now, there is a lot of talk about the fact that the job market is cooling, but it remains red hot. This is what a lot of economists are saying, because in many sectors, it's true. It really is true. I mean, federal data does suggest that the job market is cooling, but it's been historically strong. But the number of openings and voluntary quits by workers, however, are above pre-pandemic levels as well. So right now it's difficult to see, the forest through the trees about what's going on. But the bottom line is, this could be an epic time for you to create an online business if you have the patience to work on it bit by bit. Even if you were forced to go back to work, let's say you're in a brand new gig, you're like, I did get laid off. I was super stressed out. I did the due diligence. I put out my resume. I was on LinkedIn constantly, which is kind of ironic. I mean, I'm reading an article from CNBC, which I don't usually read. And they were talking about how LinkedIn itself is getting ready to lay off quite a few people. So this is one of the reasons that I really highly suggest that you consider creating your own online business. Learn the 360-degree approach that I teach in my coaching and with my clients. And if you're interested in that or learning what that is, I am promoting in every single podcast and video that I put up on my channel here on YouTube. I am offering a free 1-hour Zoom consulting session that you can do with me. It is a $150 value that I give away for free, and it is totally, completely worth it from your end and mine, in that I measure my success by yours. If you are driven to create an online business, we can do that. You want to see results in a short period of time, they can be attained. So where I get really excited and what really, what my true passion at LE and starting this whole thing, this beautiful journey I've been on with Launch Expose, is to see people skyrocket beyond their original expectations in terms of building their own online businesses. So the link is in the description below. You can check it out. It will take you directly to my free 1-hour Zoom consult session on my website, Launch Expose. And beneath the page, at the bottom of the page, you're going to see a form. So you can kind of pre-qualify your session. Tell me what you're interested in. What is your passion? Do you have a website? If you do, I'll take a look at your URL. You tell me as much as you need to about what your project requirements are. And then we set it up and we set forth on finding out what it is that you are looking to accomplish. So I highly recommend that you do that. So anyway, just getting back to the whole vibe about, is this, the end of the world that you were laid off right now? Most certainly not. And I look at being an online business entrepreneur and having a successful business online, a real 360, that the thing's returning, you're growing prospects into clients or customers quickly, you're able to do pre-launches, multiple pre-launches after you've learned that, hey, this is endless. I can just continue to create service after service after service after product in terms of the system that's provided to you at LE, but just the way to go about it successfully, then it becomes a question of, okay, why would I work for somebody else commuting again? Why would I do that? We've also got some heavy things to consider, which, at the beginning of this, I didn't realize I was going to include this in this podcast, but it's been on my mind. And that is, the situation right now around the world with climate change and what's happening in terms of heavy circumstances, what those circumstances do to provide tensions for us in our lives in terms of commuting, which is a big deal. Would it be beneficial if you had your own online business? Yes. How else is it beneficial? I'm not paying $500-600 for gas a month. I have more time with my family. I get to take walks. I get to go outside more often. I worked smarter, and I really worked hard for a 3, 4, 5, 6 week period. And because I did, I had almost a $20,000 month. So yeah, it was beautiful. We took a trip, and I went surfing for 3 weeks. This is what we're trying to achieve here. So I really am promoting the fact that you can do that. And you need to put yourself in a positive mindset and be motivated, have a driven mindset. And I truly believe in manifestation energy as well. See it coming to life now, even if you've never, ever, ever done it before. If you have, and it's been sitting idle because you were employed somewhere, and then all of a sudden you couldn't, spend the time and attention on it, and now found yourself in this layoff position, my suggestion is get right back to work on your idea. Have you come up with a solid concept? Do you know your niche? Do you have tools already? Do you have a platform already? What were you doing in the past that could be repurposed into this new energy to create your own online business and create job security right now while we go through these significant changes in terms of global economy, and especially if you're from the U.S. and we are dealing with the U.S. dollar. So that was really the motivational message I wanted to put out there tonight on this podcast. Is this could be a beautiful time for you, regardless of whether you're laid off or not, and you should definitely consider the possibilities of how quickly you could get in business online with very, very low overhead. I hope that you found the podcast resourceful and helpful this evening. I really appreciate you tuning in from wherever you're listening in the world. And I'd really appreciate it before you go if you could just give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the podcast and the channel. Really would help me to put out new content and keep the algorithm strong. And I intend to have some brand new podcast episodes published up for you on multiple subjects. And don't forget to check out my podcast sponsor tonight. The link is in the description below, and if you want to get started, the resources are there. I've also added 6 new services and virtual services to Launch Expose, which you can now actually buy in terms of subscription or in package form if we need to bundle services. Please check out the links in the description below. They're there as well. There is a main link to visit launchexpose.com and the link for the free online business consult session is also there. I highly promote that if you'd like to connect, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have in terms of you being driven to create your own online business. I really appreciate you tuning in. Y'all stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Michael Jullian at Launch Expose. Have a great evening.